Okay, hi friends, and welcome to our continuing vigil, um, at least until Inauguration Day in the United States. And let's just say, in a way, the problem, the full scope of the problem only begins then. While Tuya is preparing the screen, I'll do just mention a couple of things. And I hope you can see what I have here. It's a bit of a text. And we have used this in times past, but I want to point out that rents or tears or rips in the veils of Maya have been created. People have seen more, in some cases, a lot more, and they have changed their orientation. Some have not. Some, regardless of what they see and what they should be understanding, have not changed their orientation at all. I may have been a little bit faint there. In any case, you should hear me more strongly now. The rents in the veils of Maya allow higher energies to enter the etheric plane and condition the response on the outer plane. So we look for the law to come through. We look for synthesis to come through. And we look perhaps for the greatest tear of all, or rent, produced by the Christ, when the veil of the temple was rent in twain at the time of the crucifixion of the initiate Jesus. But there's usually a blockage caused by the veils of Maya, the veil of impulsion creating chaos, the veil of distortion producing misproportion or disproportion, the veil of separation, obviously contributing to the great heresy of separateness, and the veil of aspiration, which makes people quite satisfied with aspiring, but they don't do anything. Well, this has an immediate application to the horrific events of the 6th of January. 2 days ago, there was a breach of the Temple of Democracy, at least as that temple exists in the United States, the Capitol. It was horrific, and you could see all of the lowest elements of human nature entering the situation. The people, some of them were dressed. One of them was dressed like one of the ancient Visigothic gods with horns and the whole bit. I mean, you could see a reversion. You could see the flag of rebellion, the stars and bars of the Confederate sedition and rebellion, the Confederate flag carried in the temple of democracy. You could see people perfectly proud of what they were doing and feeling entirely entitled. It was enough to shock people deeply, and many of us remain in a state of shock. But already the lies are coming forth to try to, as they use the word gaslight, to present such a manipulated point of view that you fail to believe your own eyes and you begin to interpret it as something else. And it wasn't the president's fault. It wasn't the fault of those who, for cowardly, self-serving reasons, attempted to overthrow the will of the people and make Congress the arbiter of the vote. Oh, it wasn't their fault. No. And this is what is called in this meditation mending the rents. So I'm not really going over this meditation, but I'm just showing you that there is an ashramic force. Whether you're in the ashram or sensitive to the ashram, if you receive this, you are to walk on the path, destroying the evil forms. Walk on that path, wielding destruction and clearing out the refuse in the court, and the court of the money changers, pure materialism being the last. You meet this ashramic force, but then comes something interesting. There is an evil stream of force which seeks to put back together, to almost as if it were sew the tear shut again, mend the rent through lies, so that what happened is no longer understood or appreciated, and the light cannot get through. Now we, or whoever is responsible to the ashram on the outer level here, are to project this ashramic force against the evil stream of force, which is trying to repair the tear, which has revealed the truth. But then it's all, some of the news commentators from the far right news sources, oh, it wasn't what you think, and the people were upset, and you can understand it's, all that. The evil stream of force which seeks to mend the rents. Project upon that stream the energy of which you know. It led you from the ashram. Now, even if we're not in the heart of the ashram, we can be sensitive to the vibration of Master DK or whatever ashram we're gravitating towards. He trains so many of us. It led you from the ashram into the veils. Use that force to drive the evil back unto the astral plane. Now, we have to clear the ethers, and then later, when will it be? We don't know. But maybe a century ahead, or 2 or 3, men and women who are disciples will stand in spiritual being, and they will make a concerted attack against the glamour of the astral plane, which has been driven back, so at least it cannot affect what happens on the outer plane. Well, there's so much to this meditation, but I just wanted to point out that one thing is happening. There is an attempt to mend the tears in the veil so that, in fact, um, people will begin to think, well, that didn't really happen. It wasn't so bad. Well, most people were peaceful. No. One of the great temples of democracy was defiled. Garbage, thefts, acts of desecration occurred. Those things occurred. And we must not forget. We must remember, even 2 days later, what really happened. Now, I want to mention one more thing. There is a growing crescendo towards impeachment. It appears that Vice President Pence will not initiate Amendment 25, which speaks of the incompetence or dangerousness or illness, whatever we want to call it, of the present president. Obviously, this president has the nuclear codes. However, we do hear that Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi has been in touch with the chief general, the head of the general staff, Mark Miley, about the dangerous situation of an unstable man with the nuclear codes, and has been assured that the armed forces are aware of this and that a nuclear incident will not be allowed to get through if coming through on an order from a deranged, vengeful person. And now you know the story of Hitler. Toward the end, he felt in the bunker the German people had betrayed him and they were not worthy of him. And he wanted everything in Germany burnt to the ground. He wanted the complete destruction of the nation, as he himself was undergoing this Götterdämmerung, the twilight of the gods. There's some parallel to this going on in the bunker mentality of the present president, and the psychological analysis by his psychologist niece, Mary Trump, was it? Warned of the will to burn everything down on the way out the door. There are many people in positions of power who are aware of this, and, well, it is said they will not obey. They will be disobedient if order comes which endangers the entire nation and the world, just to bring that forward. I will just say that given millions of people who, without critical thinking, not trained in critical thinking, not trained in clear thinking, given millions of people who believe what their idol, their authoritarian God has said, by that I mean a human being who is substituted for God, it's a serious situation, and a psychological rehabilitation of a large proportion of the American psyche has to be undertaken. As I say, that's where we come in with our efforts. And it's not just confined to America. The dweller and the angel are fighting again. And that's what World War I and World War II were all about. Well, this is World War III on a psychological, spiritual level. And psychological rehabilitation is required so that the dweller does not again get the upper hand. Now, there are a few statements here in the, um, I hope I've done this correctly, in the chat. And to you, at any point that you want to, just let me know. Uh, the rent, yeah, the rent. It's an old word, Yvonne. But if I said the word rend, R-E-N-D, that's the verbal form, and the noun form is rent. So to rend, well, I just have a bunch of old words. To rend asunder means to tear apart, rend asunder. So that's what the Tibetan has old language oftentimes. And as he's trying to, or as he is translating old commentary, he tries to give it the dignity that it observes, it deserves, and he chooses the appropriate words. Then let's see, got to go on here. Right, this is all from the Raised Initiations, correct? Yeah, Yoka was asked that, and Jesse was answering. That's correct, Jesse and Yoka. And before then that we get into our meditation for tonight, and I just have to stress that these are the most dangerous days. Occasionally, and it happened, he was banned from Twitter, the platform. Twitter really only gave him 24 hours of time out. And the other social media, which have been unfortunately allowing a lot of stuff on that shouldn't be on. But anyway, it's a balance between freedom of speech and caution. I think it was the great Chief Justice John Marshall who said, yes, there is freedom of speech, but no one is allowed to yell fire in an overcrowded theater. Think about that for a minute. See, so it's freedom of speech within limits, and when you are endangering others through the freedom of speech, fire in an overcrowded theater, so many would be trampled to death, etc. You can't do it. Okay, yes, and here is Anne saying, yeah, and Karen can certainly speak in just a second here. There were reports from insiders in the White House that Mr. Trump was enjoying watching the invasion of the Capitol. He was excited. He was excited. The word had gone out there, and he couldn't understand why his aides were not excited. And maybe, Heike, you might be right. I don't know. I haven't followed it sufficiently, but that maybe Twitter has now blocked him for the rest of his presidency. It would be the right thing to do. It's too dangerous otherwise. I don't know about that, but I'll take your word for it. Now, Karen, can you unmute yourself? And
yes, I can. Yeah, I am heartbroken and deeply saddened by the profound incompetence, lack of leadership, and disrespect for human life at every level of our government. Yesterday, 4,000 Americans died of COVID. We are not able to effectively distribute this incredible life-saving vaccine. And we still have Americans refusing to wear masks because it infringes on their freedom. So we all of us powerlessly watched the insurrectionists invading and defiling the people's house, the Capitol, our sacred house. And we have elected senators and representatives who do not believe in and support democracy. I have seen this happen in my city of Portland, Oregon, when the Proud Boys and others came to our city and damaged our commons, our beautiful city. So I do not think that we can have peace and unity until we have a reckoning and accountability for actions. If there is no justice, I believe there's no peace. So yesterday, too, you asked if we were tired, and I'm responding, yes, I am tired. And it has been a challenge to keep this point of tension and focus during this vigil. I do not think that I could do it without the support of this group vigil, and am incredibly grateful for this group and the beautiful meditations you have provided, which help sustain us and our intention and focus. It has sustained me and kept me hopeful. And I do believe that Biden and Harris will, and our new administration can solve these problems and that things will get better. But like you said, we cannot not acknowledge what has happened and forget. So because this cannot happen again. And I think you're exactly right that, we're seeing that, everybody's covering their whats now. And all of this stuff is coming out, and it's well,
Yeah.
it breaks my heart. And anyway, it's enough said.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Karen. Yes, it's well said all around. I felt myself being driven to silence. Well, just it was so appalling that the response,
Yeah,
just subdued all normal responses.
I haven't been able to talk about it till now. And I've noticed that my friends haven't been texting, people are silent. I think they're profoundly impacted.
Yes, and we can hope that out of that impact will come the strength to assure that this kind of trend, which, by the way, is now being ready to be repeated in various state houses, and the inauguration is under threat, at least a verbal threat. So huge security is required all around as different states have to defend their governmental centers. See, these things have a way of
Michael, can I just
proliferating. Yes, dear, go ahead.
yeah, I just want to respond a little bit to Karen, because this kind of shock which comes, that there are months and months and weeks these forces moving and gathered, and then when it is precipitating on the physical plane, it is a wound. So it's not only the wound in emotional body, but there is a wound in the etheric field, because this breakthrough, and because that is our job, to try to prevent that the things are not precipitating on the physical plane. So that's why everyone is day and night. Actually, we use that also in our meditation, that we will not leave our posts, but also that people who are not in the sense of just very consciously concentrating, they may pray and they may hope, but yet the all society is involved in this, what is happening. And these forces are not just whatever forces, they are forces which are aiming to prevent the soul to be expressed, the human evolution. And that's why it is so radical. So my heart is really with you, everyone. And I have been getting now messages from here and there, and even my friends here in Finland, who is not so much, well, actually everybody is following this. It has been for months now, but people even from other countries are in shock. But this hurt is this what I am seeing, that it has happened, and it is kind of difficult to, would I say, the continue, and yet we just have to. So long that these forces are really held back and they are held in leash, because they are still rampant. And that's why if we lose our, or if we relax in our point of tension, then they rampant again. So we are in a war.
Yeah, thank you too. Yeah, that's right.
Mm.
Michael, you're muted.
Yvonne, I always hear you. Thank you for the alert. Um,
I have my hand up.
oh, okay. Did you want to say something, Yvonne? I'm sorry. Go ahead if you do.
Well, I wanted to tell you we're muted, but I also wanted to say that I feel hopeful about this. I've been watching CNN almost continuously, and the vandals, the thugs, the terrorists, they're in the process of arresting them and identifying now. And as far as Trump, there's three choices. He can resign. They can impeach him, which will take longer than 13 days, and they can do this other thing, 25 or something, and that'll take a while too, where they can just, keep an eye on him and don't follow, any of his orders that are destructive. But I think, this has been going on for a couple months since the election, and all the Republicans were protect their own futures, selfishly said, well, let's just let him go along with his lie because we don't want him to damage our future. So they were covering him and going along with this lie. And then it explodes, 2 months later, because all the gullible people that are little Trump addicts that watched his talk show and all this, just like adore him. Like you said, he's like a god. He can't do any wrong. The flag said, Jesus is my God and Trump is my president. There were flags like that all over the place. But I feel hopeful because this is what happened when you lie to the people, when the politicians are lying. And I think there's so many lessons in here, and everything I've heard so far has been positive.
Thank you, Yvonne. There is the sense that if articles of impeachment are brought, it's more a symbolic gesture. I think they know that unless there are unusual, they have a name for it, and I forget what it is, ways to expedite this, and a huge consensus that they cannot get a judgment out of the Senate, but they can register an indictment, which is what an impeachment really is. And there's so much pressure that something must be done, you see. So I do believe something will be done. And the question is how effective it can be. That depends upon the way it is done. I know that Nancy Pelosi was so careful about the first impeachment. You may remember how she delayed and she delayed and she delayed. But for this one, there's some kind of wind at her back. And there's such a demand within the caucus that something will happen. And it really does have to happen because the man has to be kept busy, we might say, so that his vulnerabilities cannot be taken advantage of by the internal evil forces, which are pressing hard at this moment for some disastrous outcome. Let's take a look here. I know we have, it is the subject of the day, is it not? What else can we do? So we'll check, Heike, on that. Blocking by Twitter would be a very good thing. And yes, they are tracking down, the FBI is tracking down the defilers. And much gratitude to you, Karen, says Jesse. And Joanna, the National Guard from 6 states are being called for the inaugural ceremony. That's 1600. I assume that's 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, according to the New York Times. It has to be hugely protected because that would be the prime target to disrupt the inauguration. Okay. I'm sorry?
That was 1,600 soldiers.
Yeah.
Plus, they're not done calling up other.
Oh, 1600, the numbers. But isn't it, what is the address of the White House?
1,600 Pennsylvania Avenue, I think. Yeah.
Okay, but of course this is in front of the Capitol. Okay, yes, it is a shock for everyone, says Yoka, and if I see the images, I'm still shaking. Yes, Yoka, indeed. Nesa, thank you, Karen. I'm so grateful for this gathering space. Yes. And Jesse, impeachment is the best remedy because it is a stronger block to this lie. I think, Nancy Pelosi is a very practical woman and very savvy, very smart and tactical. And she must feel that this is the only, as a matter of fact, she's gone on record and said it, that if Vice President Pence will not initiate the 25th Amendment, then the Congress will move to impeachment, or rather the House of Representatives. So we can expect intensity these next number of days, and the need for all of us, however small we are, to be focused at our point of tension, to contribute our bit to the sustainment of stability and true law and the plan. Tia, currently many federal government offices and officials cannot be reached. If you call, you will receive a recording that they are experiencing technical difficulties, so your call cannot get through. In some cases, you are blatantly informed that no one is available and your calls will not be returned. The viciousness and the, the obstructionism, is that the word, continues. Well, there are many personal decisions being made right now. People are very, they're concerned about the country, some of them. Most are concerned about their careers, their unhirability being tainted by the association with the big lies. We're going to be meditating on lie and untruth and so forth today. The old saying, the devil is the father of lies. And it really means that the personality will do everything it can to protect itself from the light of the soul. Now, there's two words that are used, the repression of the sublime, which is unconscious, and the suppression of the sublime, and that's totally conscious. So the personality in many ways is afraid of the soul. Jesse, do not know where I heard it, but Donald Trump can be impeached even after he leaves office. Does anybody have any information? I know that's been a question because it would make it impossible then for him to resume office, to hold office again. So I don't know the rules and regs on that. If they start the procedure before the change of Congress, then maybe it can continue. Maybe someone knows, I don't know. And Tia, where did you hear the information? Someone's asking. And Tia says she works in District of Columbia and placed calls and notified the FBI myself. And Ivana, gratitude for the Democratic Congress as a whole, yes. And Tia, thank you for this information, says Jesse. And they are trying to shut down the government for the next 2 weeks. Well, maybe for bad motive and good motive, you know, what are the motives here? Okay, now let's see. Let me go a little further. I'm sorry, I'm having a little trouble with this. Oh, golly. Okay.
I did hear that impeachment can happen after he leaves office. And the reason for doing that is we don't want him to run for his second term.
Yeah.
So we've got to do something.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure with that Saturn, as it's coming up, he'll be stopped and prison may be involved. And then here is this Joanna? I'm not sure. The advantage of impeachment over the Amendment 25 is that it prevents, the defendant from ever holding office again. Okay. That's very true. Diane Nutter, DT could still be charged with sedition, treason, and other crimes after leaving office. Depends on what are they federal crimes? Can he pardon himself? Will that go to the Supreme Court and a decision being made upon whether a president can pardon himself? There's such an argument going on about that right now. Lorraine, if impeachment is started while he is in office, the Senate component can complete after inauguration, according to the CNN commentator earlier today. Okay, Lorraine, thanks for that angle. And Karen being thanked again by Jesse. Anyway, going on, Article 25 will not work due to opposition of Pence, who can blame him? He'd be a direct target. Okay. A little more. And thanks and gratitude to from Jesse to Lorraine. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Have I gotten everybody? I'm having a little trouble with the little mouse movement here, but I'm hoping I've picked up everybody's written statements. Are there any further verbal statements that you want to make? It's this is like it's a bit like riding a tiger. You got to pay attention, right? Really, you're not going to relax. Or maybe at a rodeo, you've seen those guys jump on the Brahma bulls, they're called, right? You better pay attention. So that's what we're doing. Anything further? Okay. How are you doing, Tuya, there? I'm sorry? Okay, Tuya will be right with us. Well, what have we signed on for? We can ask. 4 years and a third, approximately, until WASAC of 2025, I assume that's the time, exists before the real externalization of the hierarchy in the form of 5 masters, or at least representatives of their ashrams, begins. The ashram of Master Moria, the ashram of Master Kutumi, the ashram of an English master who was on the third ray, and I think he's the master who has been involved with the labor movement. There are a few English masters. The ashram of Master Rakotsi, who is the count, you know, he's the Mahachohan. So usually I suppose what happens is that the earlier part of the ashrams externalize first, and then leading up to the externalizing of the master himself in one of the 5 planetary centers, and, believe it or not, the ashram of Master DK, whose ashram is responsible for that stream of energy we call right human relations. There's a place in externalization of the hierarchy, and I think also in the rays and the initiations, where the 5 earliest comings forth of the hierarchy are detailed somewhat. About 4.5 years exists before this really begins in earnest. It's going to take a while too, because everything is cautious and gradual. And I think many of us in our next incarnation will still be dealing with the fading out of the 6th ray and the Piscean energy. But by the year 2117, we'll be into it technically for sure. And that's, I think, when we can expect the next big moves and the invocation of the Christ to appear when his requirements have been fulfilled. Okay, are we good then to you? Yeah, okay. Then I'm going to disappear here and yeah, that's right. One more thing. Yeah. Well, he did tweet again, you know, and he was given 24 hours timeout. But let's just see how far it goes. Because if he violates, they're just waiting to pounce.
So we will start our meditation, and this meditation today, it is mixed with the clamor meditation and also the labors of Hercules, what Hercules is doing in the labors of Capricorn. And actually, what is interesting, I just check again what degree is Venus. 1 second. Venus is has just moved into Capricorn, because in these labors, Venus and via Venus is coming this voice of support. So we can all use these energies of Venus when we are moving, when the sun is moving through Capricorn. And there is also Mercury, which is helping in this labor. And Mercury is found now in, just have moved into Aquarius, the group sign. But we are aware that there are forces which tries to separate the country, United States, its people, So let us just reflect and being aware of that. And in the clamor meditation, we will work with the clamor of lies, which is expressing itself, of course, everywhere, but how it is coming via the media, in social media, and media and press. And let us imagine that we are whatever beautiful scenery you can imagine where you have been somewhere in your trips, or your place where you have a hill or little mountain or higher mountain. One second, my batteries is running low. Sorry if you hear some noise. So let us have a good deep breath of the higher body, which is given for us strength to move on. As a band of brothers and sisters, knowing what we are now doing. And we reflect in our minds that all these struggles which we are going through in humanity, it is about that we are preparing the way for Him. In the silence of our hearts, let us listen about the labors of Hercules in the sign of Capricorn, in which he is descending into the very low levels, into the hell, the only sign where he is doing that. And so we can see also these moving energies which are showing and lifting their heads. The heads of the Hydra are coming from very low levels of human expression, as it is also that in Capricorn we can reach the highest as well. The light of life must now shine forth within a world of dark. The great presiding one declared, the teacher understood. Let us align with the light. I light the way. The Son of Man, who is also the Son of God, must pass through the gate the 10th. He said, within this very hour Hercules shall venture forth. When Hercules stood face to face with him who was his guide, the latter spoke. 1,000 dangers you have braved, O Hercules, the teacher said, and much has been achieved. Wisdom and strength are yours. Will you make use of them to rescue one in agony, a prey to vast and unremitting suffering? The teacher gently touched the forehead of Hercules. Before the latter's inner eye, a vision rose. A man lay prone upon a rock and groaned as if his heart would break. His hands and legs were shackled. The massive chain that bound him were tied to iron rings. A vulture, fierce and bold, kept pecking at the prostrate victim's liver. In consequence, a trickling stream of blood flowered from his side. The man uplifted his mangled hands and cried out for help. But his words echoed vainly in the desolation and were swallowed by the wind. The vision faded. Hercules stood as before at the side of his guide. The shackled one whom you have seen is called Prometheus, the teacher said. For ages has he suffered thus, and yet he cannot die, being immortal. From heaven he stole the fire. For this he has been punished. The place of his abode is known as Hell, the domain of Hades. Unto Prometheus, O Hercules, you are asked to be a savior. What does this mean for us? Who is now Prometheus in this whole situation? Are we the one who are supposed to save Prometheus? The teacher continued, go down into the depths, and there upon the outer planes release him from his suffering. How we are going to release. Having heard and understood, the Son of Man, who was also a Son of God, embarked upon this quest and passed through the gate of the 10th. Downward, ever downward, did he travel into the binding worlds of form. The atmosphere grew, stifling, the darkness steadily more intense. And yet his will was firm. This steep descent continued long and long and long. Alone, yet not all alone, he wandered on. For when he sought within, he heard the silvery voice of the wisdom goddess Athena and the strengthening words of Hermes. Let us align with Venus. And call upon the strength and wisdom from Venus. And the strengthening words of Hermes. Mercury. This is teaching for us that we need to consider Venus and Mercury in order to do the work in Capricorn. At length he came to the dark, envenomed river called the Styx, a river that the souls of the deceased must cross. An obolus or penny had to be paid to Charon, the ferryman, that he might take them to the other side. The somber visitor from earth affrighted Charon, and forgetting the fee, he ferried the stranger across. Hercules at last had entered Hades, a dim and misty region where the shades, or better said, the shells of those departed, flittered by. When Hercules perceived Medusa, her hair entwined with hissing snakes, he seized his sword and thrust at her, struck naught save empty air. Through labyrinth paths he threaded his way until he came to the court of the king who ruled underworlds, Hades. The latter, grim and stern, with threatening mien, sat stiffly on his jet-black throne as Hercules approached. "What seek you, a living mortal, in my realms?" Hades demanded. Hercules said, "I seek to free Prometheus. The path is guarded by the monster Kerberos, a dog with 3 great heads, each of which has serpents coiled about it." Hades replied, "If you can conquer him with your bare hands, a feat no one has yet performed, you may unbind the suffering Prometheus." Satisfied with this response, Hercules proceeded. Soon he saw the triple-headed dog and heard its piercing bark. Snarling, it sprang upon him. Grasping the primary throat of Kerberos, Hercules held it in his vice-like grip. Goaded to frenzied fury, the monster thrashed about. At length, its strength subsiding, Hercules mastered it. What is Kerberos in this situation? How we are about to win it. we have to realize that it is our will. The labors of Capricorn is teaching that it is will that we must use. This done, Hercules went on and found Prometheus. Upon a slab of stone he lay in agonizing pain. And now we will move into the glamour meditation. So we align with the group. We are supposed to, in this meditation, name all the members. So let us now, when we are hearing the names, create a very strong alignment together. Michael, Anna, Anne, Asha, Barbara, Carl, Catherine, Cindy, Debo, Diane, Dilara, Francois, Fred, Gary, Heike, Jan, Jake, Jesse, Joe, Joanna, Joan, Joke, Joseph, Julie, Karen, and it says I and M, Linda, Lorraine, Marky, Margot, Maria Rosa, Marianne, Mirna, Miro, Neisa, Risto, Sandy, Teresa, Tia, Vivienne, Yvonne, Zenaid, Anne, and Veronica, and Toya. And now we do the protective formula. And this is already familiar to us. We create the cross of divinity by touching forehead, heart, left eye, and right eye. While we are also sounding this affirmation. Forehead. As a soul, I work in light. Heart. And darkness cannot touch me. Left eye. I take my stand within the light. Right eye. I work, and from that point I never move. And we visualize the cross in front of us, in front of every single member. The 3 preparatory stages. Let us now focus the dual light of matter in etheric, physical, and then the mind or mental. Light within the chitta. This dual light on etheric, physical, and on mental. Meditate now on soul contact. Visualize and recognize the soul light. And see it descending. See now the fusion of these 2 lesser lights with the soul light. The light of reason in the mental body. From the point of this triple light, let us say together, the light is one, and in that light shall we see light. This is the light that turns the darkness into day. Oh. The formula. Visualize the great searchlight which we now have created. And turn it, its light upon the astral plane. And let us now say together, radiance are we and power. We stand forever with our hands stretched out, linking the heavens and the earth, the inner world of meaning and the subtle world of clamor. We reach into the light and bring it down to meet the need. We reach into the silent place and bring from thence the gift of understanding. Thus, with the light we work and turn the darkness into day. Let us use the weapon of light and pause a while. And we invoke spiritual will by using the Antakarana. Realize this living interplay between the sacrifice petals, synthesis petals, atomic plane, or spiritual will, and the monad, the line, direct line, highest aspect of our being, and using the beam we have generated. We are standing as a great army of implacable spiritual will. And we say together, with power upon its beam, the light is focused on the goal. And this goal for us is the glamour, what is to be dissipated, lies, focused in media, in social media and press, which leads millions into confusion, through which Black Lords is able to work. As one group, we throw the light upon the glamour of lies. And we utter the words, the power of our united light prevents the appearance of the glamour of lies. We see how the light is thrown upon the glamour. We affirm the power of our united light negates the quality of the glamour from affecting humanity. We continue. The power of our united light destroys the life behind the glamour of lies. We are now going to have 5 minutes silence. During this silence, the silence produces the weakening and dissipation of the glamour of the lies, which are focused in social media and press, and which is causing the confusion, separation, hatred, through which Black Lords is able to work. We visualize how the group is standing within the will, together being protected by the cross of divinity, this cross shining forth through the group. Visualize this light, searchlight or dual light, the soul light penetrating now into the clamor of lies. And we will continue this 5 minutes in silence, and through which see the clamor weakening and dissipating. Let us see the clamor of lies now weakened and dissipated. Let us place ourselves again consciously around the triangle of the governmental triangle, and still visualize that all these lies are gone in White House, in Capitol, in Supreme Court, fresh wind of truth is pouring in. I am the way, the truth, and the life. The truth shall let us free. Let us now imagine in as big letters as you can visualize every single paper, media, whatever ways it is, stands in huge letters, truth. We turn our inner eyes while focusing also to these glamours that they are dissipating. But we call the truth from the region of the United States, Master R. We call upon the truth from hierarchy. The call in unison, truth. We demand truth for Americans, every citizens, the truth for everyone. And let us say the great invocation number 2.
Let the Lords of Liberation issue forth. Let them bring succor to the sons of men. Let the rider from the secret place come forth, and coming save. Come forth, O Mighty One. Let the souls of men awaken to the light, and may they stand with massed intent. Let the fiat of the Lord go forth. The end of woe has come. Come forth, O Mighty One. The hour of service of the saving force has now arrived. Let it be spread abroad, O Mighty One. Let light and love and power and death fulfill the purpose of the coming one. The will to save is here. The love to carry forth the work is widely spread abroad. The active aid of all who know the truth is also here. Come forth, O Mighty One, and blend these three. Construct a great defending wall. The rule of evil now must end.
Let us now turn away our attention from the astral plane and refocus again back upon the mental plane. The searchlight of the soul is shut off, as well as the group searchlight. And we now visualize that the work has been done. Physical, emotional, and mental. We visualize the covenantal triangle is now clean, purified, and the truth is echoing in every corner. Let us call still the help of the angels, Archangel Michael and his force, to stand on guard and holding energetically the wall of truth that no lies can enter in. We see that the work has been successful. We go back to Hercules. Quickly Hercules then broke the chains of Prometheus and set the sufferer free. Retracing his steps, Hercules returned as he had come. When once again he reached the world of living things, he found his teacher there. The light now shines within the world of dark, the teacher said. The labor is achieved. Rest now, my son. Rest, Hercules, the son of man, and yet the son of God. In our creative imagination, we still hold our post and stand together. Let thy will be done, not ours. And thank you, dearest friends. We see the dawn of the new day shining now. I light the way. Thank you and many blessings.